Hello everyone and welcome to another beautiful game. You guys requested this one being from the Title Tuesday tournament. It is Magnus Carlsen versus Hikaru Nakamura, and this game has it all. It features the London system, which everyone loves or hates, features the lifelong rivalry between Magnus Carlsen and Hikaru. It's the final round of the tournament. Both of them need a win to win the tournament. And lastly, it is a beautiful game, extremely tactical, and I would say in a 5+0 game, impossible to calculate. So yeah, let's check it out. Magnus with white opens with pawn to d4. We have knight to f6 by Hikaru and the immediate bishop to f4. Shamelessly going for some sort of an Indian game, but we know it's going into a London system. Pawn to d5 and pawn to e3. So the accelerated London system. We have pawn to c5 and pawn to c3. And here Hikaru goes for knight to c6, which is also very nice. If you remember a couple of videos ago, I made a video on how to counter the London system with this sort of new idea of going queen to b6. Or you also can include knight c6 and then queen to b6, but there are major differences. For example, queen to b6, queen to b3, and pawn to c4. Everyone just trades here. And then if you trade, for example, captures, you have a very easy game. You have a semi-open file for the rook. You have b5, b4 ready. The bishop is coming to f5, g6, bishop, g7. You can play e6, whatever. It's a beautiful position to play with black. Black already at least equalized, and you're going to have a much easier time finding moves than white. And even if white doesn't go for the capture, if after a pawn to c2, queen to c2 is played, still incredibly versatile and tactical, and you will have a lot of fun playing this with black. You can go g6, then you already have an attack on the queen, bishop f5, bishop g7, or you can throw in a knight to c6, and then after knight f3, go for the immediate bishop to f5, where the white queen cannot capture. White queen has to keep an eye on the b2 pawn, and this is, again, a very, very rich opening. If you want to check it out, first link in the description below. I talk about it quite a lot, and there are some really, really awesome lines there. So, Hikaru goes for knight to c6, which can still transpose into the queen b6 lines, but after knight to d2, we have pawn to e6, knight g to f3, and now c captures on d4. We have e captures on d4 and knight to h5. This is a move you will almost always see, putting pressure on the white's London bishop. So bishop to e3, not allowing the trade, and now bishop to d6. Since the diagonal has opened up, why wouldn't Hikaru claim it for his own bishop? We have bishop to d3. And now knight to f4. Bishop captures. We have bishop captures, castles kingside. And Magnus already played this game. Even in classical, he played it against Gregory Kaidanov in Qatar Masters of 2023, where Kaidanov continued with castles kingside. But here Hikaru goes for bishop to d7. And it is now, as of move 11, that we have a completely new game. Okay, rook e1 from Magnus, nicely aligning the rook with Hikaru's king. We have castles and queen to e2. We have bishop back to c7, not waiting for Magnus to challenge it with g3. So just bishop to c7, rook a to d1, and queen to e7. Both players playing really quickly, as this is 5+0. You cannot afford to waste time here. Knight b3 and bishop to d6, taking away the c5 square from the white knight. Knight to e5, offering a trade, and we have rook a to e8. We have pawn to f4, and if you're a casual player and you face the London system quite a lot and you don't know some of the tricky lines that we've discussed featuring the queen b6 line, chances are you often end up in this position. You have all of your pieces, you've played everything correctly, the engine says you're fine, but there's a white knight on e5, and you have no idea what to do. Do you capture it? Do you ignore it? Do you challenge it with pawn to f6? Either of these moves could easily cost you the game, and if you put this position into an engine, the engine will give bishop to c8 as the top move. So yeah, good luck playing this. Hikaru decides to challenge the knight right away. Pawn to f6. We have knight captures on d7, queen captures, and now just queen to f3, with ideas of queen h3, putting pressure on e6 and also on that h7 pawn. And by playing f6, you have gotten rid of the knight on e5, but you've also severely weakened the e6 pawn. So queen to c7, putting pressure on the f4 pawn, and Magnus says you can have it. I'm going after the h7 pawn. So pawn to f5 by Hikaru, so this weakens the e6 pawn indefinitely. Pawn to g3, now Magnus defends on f4, and rook to f6. Going for rook to h6, we have rook to e2, preparing to double up on the e-file. and pawn to a6. Now preparing to play b5 because you know that there's really nowhere other than the queen side to push unless Magnus decides to go after the center or the king side. So rook d to e1, we have queen to d7, adding more defenders to that e6 pawn, knight to d2, and now knight to d8. Okay, the e6 pawn is nicely defended, but Magnus says, I have another knight I can put on e5, so knight f3, or maybe I'm going to put it on g5. We have knight f7, Hikaru counters that, controlling e5 and g5, and now king to h1 by Magnus, saying that he's ready to put the rooks on the g file and open up the g file by playing pawn to g4, and Hikaru should just continue with whatever he was doing, playing on the queen side, but he defends against Magnus's idea without Magnus initiating the idea, and this makes the idea possible. Chess is sometimes weird like that, because for the moment Magnus cannot play g4 as the f4 pawn would fall. But after Hikaru's bishop to f8, g4 is by far the strongest move. That was Magnus's plan. The only thing that kept him out of playing it was the bishop on d6. So now Magnus strikes, pawn to g4, rook to h6, and now queen to g3. A bit of a suboptimal move. Queen g2 is better, as on g3 the queen is well within of the knight on f7, but Hikaru doesn't pick up on that. He plays f captures on g4, we have queen captures, and now bishop to d6, followed by pawn to f5. It's a very nice move. Really, all of the moves are winning here for Magnus because the e6 pawn is too weak. If you wanted to really force matters, you could even play bishop to f5, and there's no way you can counter this. There are 4 pieces attacking the e6 pawn, and even if Hikaru lands another defender, you can always add another attacker. And now you're attacking the d6 pawn with everything, and since Hikaru has a dark square bishop and the pawn is on a light square, he cannot use the bishop to also defend the pawn. So here, black just falls apart. But after bishop d6, Magnus played pawn to f5. We have knight to d8, adding a defender, and f captures on e6. And there's just no way you can capture back. Okay, queen to e7. We have knight to g5 and rook to f8. Hikaru trying to organize some sort of a defense, but with that pawn on e6, it doesn't look good. And also, Magnus can play really whatever. He plays bishop captures on h7, rook captures, knight captures, king captures, queen to h5 check, king to g8, and now he captures on d5. So he gives up the rook for the knight and bishop, but how are you ever touching that e6 pawn? Hikaru plays rook f6. We have pawn to c4 by Magnus. Bit of a oversight, as bishop to b4 could get Hikaru back into the game. You have to move the rook and then you just pick up the e6 pawn, but that's why this is blitz. Hikaru goes rook to h6. He misses bishop b4, and now Magnus is completely winning. Unfortunately for Hikaru, he's winning whatever he plays, but there's a move that Magnus missed that just shatters black. Feel free to pause the video and try to find this idea while I give you a couple of seconds. For those of you who follow me on Twitter or X, you probably already have seen this, but for those of you who don't, here queen captures on d6 ends the game on the spot, as after queen captures pawn to e7, there's no defense against pawn to e8. So Magnus missed this, or rather he didn't miss it, he just found a different line that works, and then he missed the killer move, which is something we've seen quite a lot in Capablanca's games. He would win games, and then they would ask him, well, why didn't you finish the game brilliantly? And then he said, I just found this and I didn't look for anything else because it's winning, and he didn't really care if anyone thought, okay, this was spectacular. But then later on in some of the games after he finished the game, he also shown how you could have won by sacrificing 2 pieces. Why he didn't go for that, I have no idea. He just favored simplicity over, a spectacle, I guess. But yeah, Magnus plays pawn to c5. We have bishop to c7, and now queen to d7. It is enough to win. Queen to f6, and now queen captures on c7. Hikaru hoping for some sort of an attack or maybe even a perpetual, but now the problem is queen f3 check doesn't work. But it's also interesting, he didn't play it, I'm just going to show why it doesn't work. It doesn't work because after rook g2 and knight captures on e6, queen to c8 with check, and after king to h7, there's one move that stops black's attack. And maybe not the first one you think of, especially with so little time on the clock. So what would you play here with white? You can unpin, that also works, but the best is just queen e8, and black has no moves. Whatever black plays, it simply doesn't work. If you try the knight f4 idea, which is what you were going for, then queen e4 check, you trade queens, and then you're just up too much material. Captures, 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 captures. 2 extra pawns completely winning. But yeah, it's a 0 increment, so if Hikaru saw this, he probably would have went for it. He went for knight captures on e6 right away. Magnus played rook captures on e6, and now there is nothing more for Hikaru to do here, and he was in this position on move 41 that Hikaru Nakamura resigned the game. Like I said, there's nothing more to be done here. He's down a full rook. He does have this rook f3 check, but after king to g1, nothing more. There's no rook g6 check. You can go for queen to g4 check. The queen comes to g3, and that's all there is. It seems like you could maybe capture on e6 as both the queen and rook are attacking, but the queen on g4 is hanging. So yeah, that's all there is to it. You can pick up on d4, king to h1, and now there's one more check, queen d5, queen to g2, and now that there are no more checks, you're just up a full rook, and again, you cannot capture as the queen here is hanging. So best would be to just, well, resign the game here, or even better where Hikaru resigned. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Brilliant stuff from Magnus and Hikaru, but Magnus takes this one, and like I said in the previous video, he wins the title Tuesday in clear first place. Hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Christian Fisher, Carmen Polifronio, Austin Wheeler, Ali Urukoglu, Joseph McCardle for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.